I'm genuinely shocked to say that Qatar is one of the cheapest, easiest places to go to for a long weekend from the UAE. We went for 3 days during one of the long weekends and we were baffled by the affordability and the amount of different things that there were to do too, despite it being the hot season. So to start off with, we flew from Sharjah. So it only took us about half an hour to get there. So it was really straightforward. The flights from Sharjah airport were 770 dirham return. So that was one of the biggest savings to start off with. Sharjah airport was really straightforward to go through, managed to get through there relatively quickly and then get straight onto the airplane. The airplane journey only took us an hour to get to Qatar, and then at Qatar airport, it was really straightforward to go through the airport. Customs was really easy, and the person who served us was really delightful. I think I've been trying to learn a little bit more Arabic, so I said "Mahaba, kayf halak," and I've probably said that wrong. But she appreciated the effort. In the arrivals terminal, first thing we needed to sort out was the SIM card. The Rial to dirham is a 1-to-1 ratio. It makes it easy to convert. So 30 Rial, managed to get a SIM card, really straightforward, 2 gigabytes of data. Now that was more than enough for us with all of the different Wi-Fi that is available in the hotels, as long as you're using that over the long weekend. From there, we went into a taxi, and this is where the first, how crazy we realized the affordability of the country was. The taxi only cost us 35 Rials for a half an hour journey. We caught an Uber, and the Uber was tremendously efficient, just pulled up straight away in about 2 minutes. We found that we didn't actually have to wait any longer than 2 minutes, and actually that 2-minute wait was the longest we had to wait. Often, sometimes you'll press go and they're actually there straight away. So it was really straightforward. We got to the hotel. Hotel wasn't quite ready, so we went down to city centre Doha, which is in the downtown region. In city centre Doha, it was interesting because we come from Dubai, where things are open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, but during prayer day on a Friday, which is when we went, things are actually shut around 11, and then they do reopen around 2-ish, I believe. I'll put the exact figures at the bottom. From there, we were able to get some food before then going back to the hotel. Hotel was really straightforward. It only cost us around 1,000 dirham. You can do cheaper, obviously, depends on your needs. We did get a lovely upgrade too, to a suite, which was fantastic and very welcome for a long weekend. And then from there, we went down to Villaggio Mall. I've always wanted to go to Villaggio Mall. It's something that I've seen lots on pictures. It reminds me a lot of the Venetian in Vegas that I've been to, and it was truly amazing to see the sky, even though you're inside, but it feels outside, and there's a canal that goes through, a bit like being in Venice, and all the different shops are really straightforward, loads of different things to see within just a mall. I was also shocked within that mall to see the price of shopping. Shopping is cheaper than in Dubai. I'm not quite sure why that is, but we were able to pick up clothes at a much cheaper rate than what it would normally be in Dubai. It might be imports, might be VAT, I'm not too sure. From there, after having a little bit of a look around, we got a Cheesecake Factory, have to get Cheesecake Factory, have to get orange chicken. We then went out to go and see the stadium that's there, and then headed down to the main central district, Mushrib, I've probably said that wrong. From there, we were then able to walk down to one of my favourite areas, which was Souk Waqif. Souk Waqif was a cultural hotspot for all sorts of different blends of culture, tradition, and it was lovely to walk around the winding streets and see so many different sights. Although you can't see this on the video, there were so many tremendous smells, and we were able to see all sorts of different stalls, along with some livestock and some camels. Really lovely to see. We then walked down to the corniche area at night time to see the skyline, go on a bit of a walk. As it's the summer, it got a little bit too hot and sweaty, but I think you could really walk from that area all the way through. We could have done to the hotel, but we just decided, for the sake of what ended up being about 10 Rial or £2, it made sense to get a taxi back to our hotel. The next day we woke up a little bit later on, as it was a Saturday. We needed a bit of a lie-in, enjoyed the breakfast buffet, and then we headed over to Box Park and over to the Old Port. Now, it was early on in the day, but it was about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, so it was far too hot. I can imagine these areas would be both lovely at night or during the cooler seasons. It was a really nice area, but we didn't quite get a chance to explore around there. From there, we then went on to a mall called Villaggio Mall. I believe that's how it's called. And I spent the time just looking up, to be honest, at the tremendous ceilings or the dancing fountains. We really enjoyed I think it was Game of Thrones dancing fountains, which was genius. Can't play it due to copyright reasons, but that mall felt a lot more luxury. We spent a little bit of time in there before then going on to the Katara area. Katara was brilliant. A little bit of Souk Waqif in terms of the winding buildings, but there's all sorts of different things that you can go and see. As we were turning up there a little bit earlier, lots of things were actually closed, unfortunately, so we couldn't go in lots of areas. We went into the amphitheatre, or out to the amphitheatre because it's outside, but we also had a little wander around an area called 21 High Street.
I know you can't feel it, but these little vents are AC units in Katara, and they are absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure about the sustainability, but absolutely impressive.
What an area. That is an area that kind of shows you just how wealthy the country is, where they're actually just pumping out AC, but into an outdoor region. So you do notice that it's a little bit cooler, but it's crazy to just walk along and then suddenly feel some cool from the AC. That was something that blew me away. From there, we started to feel a little bit hungry, so we went on to Festival City Mall to have a little bit of a wander around. We noticed that that mall was a little bit more expat feeling. We had some food there. One thing that helped us save money during this trip was the entertainer. We were able to use that not just in the UAE, but also in Qatar, where we went to a couple of different restaurants. One of them was inside this mall. Love a bit of chilies. From there, we then went down to the Pearl. We've been highly recommended the Qanat Courtier, which reminded us of an external Venice, walking around all those different areas. That was truly beautiful, but because we went at night, we couldn't quite enjoy the colours. It was quite hot too, so we then enjoyed the humidity, walked around the Pearl before then going back to our hotel. The next day was a nice chill day again. We spent the morning at the National Museum of Qatar. This, for me personally, reminded me a little bit of Expo 2020 in terms of showcasing the country's history, some of their plans for the future, along with other elements of different tradition too. I truly enjoyed this museum. It's not often you say that about a museum, but one of the things that I loved the most was all of the different old maps. It was really interesting, having lived in the UAE for 5 years, to see how the maps of this region has changed over time from, for example, the UAE being different areas to then becoming the UAE. That was a really cool map to go and see. There were all sorts of interesting things about the different wildlife there too, and it was a great museum, definitely worth the 50 riyals or £10 entry that you would pay to go in there. After visiting the museum, it was unfortunately time to start heading back at about 1 o'clock. So we jumped in the taxi, back to the hotel, grabbed the bags, and then there was another cheap 30 riyal, about half an hour trip back to the airport. Really straightforward to get through Qatar airport, and it was nice and easy. That's one thing I can say about the trip. It was all very straightforward. By having the internet, which was nice and cheap, by using Uber, which was super efficient, never had to wait more than 2 minutes. Sometimes the cars were literally right in front of us. As soon as we pressed, we want a ride. There were plenty of things to do, although I feel like we only really got to scratch the surface in the 3 days that we were there. We didn't really get a chance to go on any kayaking or go into the desert safaris, which we might want to do. We've done that before, obviously being from the UAE, but highly recommended. Certainly recommended if you are looking for a cheaper trip to do during a long weekend. Air Arabia, 700 dirhams, really straightforward with the Ubers, with the SIM cards. Other than that, food, you can spend however much or little you want to because of all the different things that are available there too, including the entertainer. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this gives you some ideas of places that you can travel to, whether you're a teacher in the UAE or just thinking of going somewhere different.